Ελληνική επισκόπηση από τον Θέμη Ioakimidis, μέλος της ΕΣΥ Σίδνεϊ, στα αγγλικά.
Good evening, Ellinon. It is a great honour to be here tonight and to be able to share these truths with you. The first thing I have to say is not to believe anything we are saying. Beliefs have led us to the troubles of today. Do your own research and see the facts for yourselves. Questioning everything is something we have innate within us as Ellinos. I will start my introduction with the actual word Ellin. The etymology of the word Ellin firstly contains the word El, which means light, and secondly the word Lin, which means Laos. In essence, the deeper meaning of the word describes he who will see the light and one who is enlightened. Throughout antiquity, Hellenism has shown its magnificence in megaloprepia, one of our principles in our Ellin protocols, and this is inscribed within our Ellin culture and inheritance all over the planet, and in all parts of the globe. This is something we should be immensely proud of. However, this is not something to express with vanity. It is something that demands great responsibility. Unfortunately, over the many years up until recent years, this magnificence has been deviously overshadowed, making us forget our eudaimonia, which is one of our 12 values. Eudaimonia defines who we are, where we are going, and our true purpose as Ellin human beings. Unfortunately, instead of eudaimonia, we have come to the point of facing extinction around the planet and even within our own homeland, Elas. Unfortunately, from proud Ellins who always looked up towards the cosmos, our true origin, today we are looking down towards oblivion in embarrassment of who we are and what we have become. From an abundance of wealth to looking in garbage for scraps of food. How have we reached this point, Ellinos? How have we allowed this injustice to occur and overpower true justice? Don't you think the time has come for us to step up to these regimes controlling our lives and futures and the future of our children? Although the problem starts thousands of years ago, I will briefly analyse a specific and important historical point. This is our apparent War of Independence of 1821. And I say apparent because unfortunately we never achieved independence. Although we had very worthy and Ellin freedom fighters such as Kolokotroni, Nikitara Karaiskakis, and thousands more Elanias Psyches, the larger powers of the time deviously planned our transfer from Ottoman occupation to the Bavarian and banking elite of the time. This scheme happened because we couldn't fund our own war efforts and relied on the foreign banking regimes who would later take full control of Elas, our lives and our sovereignty. The word sovereignty is very important to remember. However, during this war effort, we had a great leader and true Ellin president. His name was Ioannis Kapodistrias, and in fact, he would be the last true president, Ellin president, up until today. His greatest achievements was the unification of Greece's divided municipalities, Demos, and the general unification of Ellin souls to fight against the Ottoman occupation. His governance would focus on the power of the municipalities, η κρατή του Δήμου, and the unification. The power of the municipalities is what democracy truly is. Keep the word municipality in mind. It is one of the most important concepts regarding Ellinon Syneleysis. He also accomplished 3 Ellinon assemblies, Themistoklis. Hellenic Assembly is the name given to the act where Ellins unite as a whole to make decisions about governance and politics and decisions for the prosperity of their future. Through the Themistoklis, we established a true Ellin bank. The actual owners of this bank would be the Ellin public, the polites themselves. It is also important to mention that the first political parties, τα κόμματα of the time, were the following: the Russian Party, the French Party, and the English Party. I'll say it again: the Russian, the French, and the English. Whatever happened to an Ellin party for Ellin interests? So from 1821, we have the establishment of 3 κόμματα with foreign interests within our own homeland. Much like the parties today, divide and conquer has always been their main method. So after these huge achievements by Kapodistrias, the powers were successful in creating the event that would lead to the assassination of Kapodistrias and paralyze all of Elas. And this is a crucial point that you need to pay attention to. This is the point where we lose our identity and sovereignty as Ellins. After Kapodistrias' assassination, it was planned for a 16-year-old to be the king of Greece. His name was King Otto. He undertook governance and with the help of the three komata, established the private corporation named Kingdom of Greece. And since we always speak with evidences, we will show you the first government gazette, the FEC, of 1833. This FEC basically turns us from sovereign Hellenes to slaves and subordinates of the private company called the Kingdom of Greece. This was not only for the Hellenes living during this time, but also applied to future generations. Every Hellene had to give an oath of subordinacy to King Otto and his laws, and in the name of the Holy Trinity. The National Bank of Greece would be created in 1841, and from this point, Greece would go through 3 bankruptcies, the first in 1843, the second in 1893, and the third in 1932. Greece would face the Asia Minor catastrophe and the genocide of 4 million souls. Greece would face 2 world wars and a civil war, brother against brother. Cyprus and its Hellene people would face another occupation by the Turks. Greece would face division in every aspect of their lives, politically, geographically, economically, within their own households, with poverty reaching unimaginable heights and a huge number of low birth rates. It seems as though every time the people would finally get back on their feet, their whole world would turn and crumble down as a result of these systematic bankruptcies by the private banking elite. Ellinon, this is because, as I mentioned, we never had another Hellene leader after Kapodistrias. If we search their family trees, none of them are truly Hellene. And every one of them today, including all the political parties, serve the interests of the bankers and are pawn pieces of a much bigger scheme with the purpose of our extinction. The political parties have achieved this and have managed to divide us. They are the source of the problem. It is in the word itself, ta komta pou komatiazon. It divides the society up. Now let's go to the failed bankruptcy of 2012. And you're all probably wondering what failed bankruptcy of 2012. If you're listening to the Greek media and in general the global media during the presidency of Papandreou, they were saying that Greece would face bankruptcy. That was the plan. However, just when they were about to execute this plan, and when everything seemed so grim, along comes Themistoklis to put a halt to their plans. At this point, it is important to remember that there are 3 economical tools Artemis has brought that can solve every problem Hellas is facing. The first, in October 2012, Artemis deposited $600 billion US in the form of international bills of exchange in a custodial account in favor of the sovereign Hellene democracy, put simply the Hellene nation and the people themselves. It was deposited for the purpose of paying off the public and private debt. The $600 billion are lawful debt of the United States of America, and more specifically the Treasury Department named US Treasury. The bonds are validated by UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code. For those of you who don't know what UCC is, it is recognized as a payment receipt which validates the $600 billion, and they are considered indisputable. UCC is the strongest proof of evidence that exists regarding the $600 billion. Absolutely every important mechanism, both within Hellas and abroad, is notified of this transaction. The US Treasury, the IMF, the World Bank, and the entire Greek government are just a few. There was absolutely no objection, no protest. The legal amount of time was given, and since there was no objection, the funds were confirmed and processed. Even though the proposal was more than enough to solve Greece's apparent debt problem, the government continued its commitment to the memorandums and the further deterioration of society and the people. Their stance and their submittal to the bankers has led to thousands of suicides. Who will account for all these lives lost when we clearly have a proven solution? One of the main problems they have with the proposal was the 2 conditions that were attached. The first, a legal audit of the debt to find the true amount owed. The second, accountability for those held responsible. The Greek government tried to use informal documents and illegitimate experts to defame the whole proposal through clever use of the media. The media, as I'm sure you all know, is totally controlled, especially in Greece. All documents that the government and their mechanisms have brought out to defame the $600 billion have absolutely no legal validity. Many attempts were made by Themistoklis to remind them of their obligation to check its validity before rejecting or defaming it, and to put a stop to the unnecessary signing of new memorandums, measures, and the signing away of people's lives, but to no avail. Artemis charges the whole government for high treason, violation of their duties, and criminal malpractice. Apart from the facts mentioned, we also have 2 court cases against Themistoklis. The first, in June 2013, by Ellinon Georgiadis, for spreading false news concerning the people and abolition of the state. These are very serious crimes. And one more in 2017, more recently. Themistoklis is acquitted of all charges in both court cases. He was found not guilty because the evidences were too strong and irrevocable. If this isn't enough evidence, from 2015 up to today, the 600 billion appears in every balance sheet of the government. Let's see these on screen. Keep in mind, these are in euros, and if we exchange these amounts to dollars of their respective dates, they equal 600 billion. 2015 only 94 billion, but as of 2016 we see 532 billion, 2017 563 billion, and 2018 552 billion. 2019 we see exactly 600 billion, which includes the interest as well. Yannis Varoufakis, high-ranking economic advisors, and the current economic minister Tsakalotos himself, who by the way has signed 2 of these balance sheets, have been publicly questioned and none of them can give an answer. Varoufakis dared to say that it was a fake document. That concludes our first economical tool. I'm sure there's enough evidences. Let's move to the second economic tool, which involves the shares of the Bank of Anatolia, Τράπεζα της Ανατολής. We will travel a little back to the 1900s and Asia Minor catastrophe. The Bank of the Orient was established in 1904 by the National Bank of Greece and the National Bank of Deutschland. Both are private companies. Remember that after 1833, nothing established after the Kingdom of Greece ever belonged to the Greek people. This includes the National Bank of Greece. Until 1922, the Bank of Anatolia had 90% of the wealth of Hellenes living in Asia Minor, Alexandria, Smyrni, Constantinople, Thessaloniki. In order to understand how wealthy that geographical region was, Hellenes in Smyrni had 5,800 industrial factories, while in Greece, they only had 450. When the slaughter and genocide was occurring in Smyrni, all the Hellenes deposited the title deeds of their factories and homes within the Bank of Anatolis, thinking it was a Greek bank, basically all their assets. In 1931, the National Bank tried to perform a takeover with the Bank of Anatolis. This was impossible because they could never gather above 50% of the shareholders to legally validate the merger. The majority was slaughtered. In the balance sheets of the Bank of Anatolia during its operation, we see amounts of 83.5 million gold francs. Now this today in euros passes quadrillion amounts. Can you see now, Ellinon, how much wealth actually belongs to the Hellene nation? This means that the Bank of Anatolia has never closed and still exists today. It actually operates within a small section inside the National Bank of Athens. We actually have last year's FEC, which states that the company Τράπεζα Ανατολής performed a general meeting in 2018, last year. That's the FEC. In other words, Ellinon, the genocide of 4 million of our great-grandparents was strategically conspired for the theft of their assets and gold. The Bank of Anatolia had 280,000 shares, and the shareholders were the Hellene people. These shares were backed by gold and in golden francs. The guarantor or payee of these is the then Central Bank of France. What do you think the name of that bank is today? It is the Central European Bank. They will have a lot to answer for when we all unite. Themistoklis possesses 40 validated shares of the Bank of Anatolia, which are stamped by the French embassy. They have passed through a parliamentary control, which is the highest mechanism of government. Their value has been validated at 678 billion each share. Themistoklis deposits 8 shares, 4 in one non-profit organisation and 4 in another for the same purpose of paying off the Greek debt. The tax he has to pay for these shares amounts to 27.2 trillion. We have all the documentation for this. The tax department does not collect the tax, forcing Artemis to possibly be the only person on the planet who has sued the tax department for not collecting the tax. He also offered 1 share to the Holy Synod to help pay off the debt and help the Hellenes struggling in such difficult circumstances. They refused the offer. The last and third economical tool refers to the structuring and financing of the municipalities and for Hellenism abroad. This is where we play a big part. As a result of the Bretton Woods Agreement, 198 countries have a huge amount of wealth in accounts within the banking corporations. These accounts were kept hidden until Themistoklis provided us with the 2007 World Bank balance sheet. It lists the enormous wealth of all these countries that rightfully belong to the people. According to the World Balance Sheet, Greece has $115 trillion. Even Australia has a huge amount. And yet all countries are in debt. To whom? The document contains the signatures of every Minister of Finance, Prime Minister and UN representative of each country. It also has the signatures of global judges, the UN, the International Criminal Court, Interpol, CIA, and many more. It is important to also know that the municipality, or Demos, constitutes the first degree of local self-government. It has more power than the parliament itself. Therefore, the Demos has every right and power to structure financing from these accounts in order to create development projects for their district. Hence, why the majority of councils and their mayors are affiliated with a political party. so it guarantees that this won't happen. Themistoklis has 5 power of attorneys from 5 different municipalities who gave him the power to download funds for restructuring and developing projects in all of Hellas and for Hellenism abroad. This means for us, Hellenes in Australia. He has undertaken all legal procedures in order to structure the financing of $2.3 trillion from these heritage accounts for 49,000 projects in Hellas, Cyprus and Hellenism abroad. He has also committed his personal assets and guarantees, so no burden will come upon the municipality. This is one reason Ellinon Syneleysis was created. And it has been created by the fundamental part of society, which is the people themselves. We currently have 400 offices in Hellas and globally. In Germany, Australia, America, Canada, our strength and presence is huge, even though the media don't show us. Each one is independent, but in total harmony with all the other offices. This is because of the 33 protocols and the value system that's at the core of every decision we make. We are the only organisation that has true and defined human values and puts the human being at the centre of every decision. We have every right to structure projects around the globe for the benefit of Hellenism and the people. Some important objectives of Ellinon Syneleysis are the following. The first, the evaluation, promotion and demand for a full audit of the total debt. 2, the cancellation of all the memorandums and loan agreements deemed as illegal. 3, demand the punishing of abusers of public money and the confiscation of their assets. 4, to declare and demand the immediate withdrawal of all contrary international agreements that convert Hellas into an inhumane European concentration camp for illegal immigrants. Number 5, demand all intellectual copyrights everywhere globally where there is a Hellenic cultural element, heritage, temple, monument, symbols, basically everything Hellenic that is only the heritage of the Hellenes. And number 6, to promote, support and bring forth the true history of the Hellenes, the sciences, culture, and pursue all legal means to punish and convict anyone who fraudulently reproduced fabrication and treason against Hellenism worldwide. And number 7, replacing the Central Bank of Greece with one of purely Hellene ownership. And these are just a few of the 27 objectives of Ellinon Syneleysis. As Hellenes living in Australia, through our non-profit organisations, Ellinon Syneleysis, we can play an active role in completing these objectives, especially ones regarding Hellenic intellectual property and inheritances. Just like Macedonia is ours by right of inheritance. There is absolutely no Macedonia issue. They have the issue. Macedonia was, is and will always be Hellas. Our founding declaration, η Ιδρυτική Διακήρυξη, έτσι είναι. Η Ιδρυτική Διακήρυξη μας is based on the inheritance we legally have as ancestors of Alexander the Great. Not just land, but the enormous wealth and every Pluto that comes with his name of the Hellene nation and ethnos. In addition to everything else Artemis has open-heartedly given us, he has also revealed that there is not even one government gazette, fake, that legally forms the Greek government. Δηλαδή, every parliamentarian that's in the Greek Vuli is illegal in that position. There is not one fact that shows how many ψήφους, how many votes he has to be in that position. Όλοι είναι παράνομοι μέσα εκεί. Ellinon Syneleysis is the legal representation of the nation. The sovereignty we lost from the Kingdom of Greece is now being legally restored. Our ultimate goal is the 5th Ethnosyneleysi, continuing on from Capodistria and continuing on from the first ever Ethnosyneleysi, which was achieved by Alexander the Great's father, Philippos. This can only be achieved if we all unite, and Ellinon Syneleysis paves the way for this to be achieved, and establish a true Ellinon Politia with our 33 protocols consisting of 12 values, 18 principles, and 3 state laws as its foundation, the human himself. It's time to take back the control of our wealth and Pluto. The sovereign Hellene has awoken and is growing rapidly. In every speech, video, interview, or text by Artemis Soras, he constantly repeats one thing: the unification of all Hellenes all around the planet, without goma, without dogma, without chroma, meaning the color of money. This is why he is being held in prison at the present moment, without any charges against his name. Because if he wasn't in prison, all of the regime would be. These 3 things are what divide us: κόμματα, dogmata και χρώματα. Let's focus on the other 1,000 things that unite us. In this way, we will take our future into our own hands. Hellenism will once again be the beacon for all of humanity. It is up to us. Investigate the facts and spread the word. Become active in the revitalization of Ellinism all around the planet. Δίνουμε φως, παιδιά.